cold, wintry January day. This fourth Wednesday in January is the least eventful Wednesday, but I'm glad to be with you here tonight. I want you to know that you are welcome here. This is Dwell Youth Ministry, a youth ministry of First Congregational United Church of Christ in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And I want you to know that you are welcome here. No matter what you believe, no matter who you love, no matter what you've done, no matter who you are, no matter how you identify, you are welcome here. This is a space where all people are welcome, including you, maybe even especially you. You are important, and you are loved, and you matter. So I'm glad you're here tonight. My name is Josh. I'm the youth minister here at First Congregational. And I'm so excited to be in this role, to be with you. You might be asking why I'm sitting behind or in front of this wall of chalkboard filled with X's. I will get to that soon. That's what I'm talking about tonight, actually, is this chalkboard behind me and why there are a bunch of X's on it. But for now, I just really wanted to welcome you and wanted to take a moment on this Wednesday night to just pause and breathe. It's a chaotic world out there where there's a lot of noise and there's just a lot. And it's good to simply pause and breathe and slow down. Because the first few Wednesdays of this month, boy, were they wild. We had an insurrection. There was an impeachment. There was an inauguration. Today, though, was quiet. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, a lot of these X's do look like Y's. These were hand done, and I didn't try too hard to keep them all X's. But it's been so crazy. After a year like 2020, and the first few weeks of this month, it's a lot of stress on us. We're all experiencing this collective trauma together. We're in a pandemic, which is why we're online right now. It's why we're not gathering in person in this moment. So for this moment right now, let's just breathe. So take one deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. In 3, 2, 1. Taking a deep breath like that literally changes the way your brain functions for the better. It is healthy for you. It's not just a meditative thing. It's a physical thing that actually helps your brain. When you get stressed, when you get anxious, a deep breath will do wonders for you. So in a time where we are often anxious because of physical distancing, it's good to remember that we have our breath, because our breath is as constant as the presence of the divine, meaning that it's constant. Okay, so why this chalkboard full of X's? You ready? Each of these X's represents $1 million. Yeah, each individual X. So this one right here, that's $1 million. This one right here, another $1 million. Do you know how much all of these X's add up to be? $1 billion. Isn't that wild? We tend to think that 1 billion and 1 million are pretty close together. After all, there's only 3 zeros of a difference between them. But all of these X's together is $1 billion. Each X being 1 million. Isn't that wild? I think that's absolutely wild. Why I'm talking about $1 billion tonight is because I wanted to talk about the gross income inequality that exists in the world. It's important to realize that we live in an unjust world where people hoard wealth while most of us suffer. Don't get me wrong, we live in a pretty wealthy nation. The US overall is really wealthy compared to the rest of the world. And I think that's a good thing, you know? But there are millions of individuals that live below the poverty line. For a single family, do you know what that poverty line income is? About $26,000. AKA, if you take one of these X's and divide it by like 100, that's what the poverty line is. And there are millions that live under that line. While there are a few individuals like Jeff Bezos who make $150 billion, that's his net worth, $150 billion. That is multiplying this board by 150. You can tell me that that is okay because he worked really hard and he earned his money. But try telling that to the mom who's working 3 jobs and still can't afford health insurance for her family. Tell that to the dad who was just fired because of this pandemic and can't make $1 now. Tell that to the teenager who was just kicked out of their house and is now homeless, even though they have a job at McDonald's. It's not just. It's not okay that a few individuals have most of the world's wealth. It infuriates me to think that this $1 billion is so far beyond what any of us can possibly dream of making. Just one of these X's is $1 million. How excited would I be to make that? It should make us angry when we think about how the world is structured, how a few people benefits while most of us don't. This is important because as a Christian, I see my responsibility as first and foremost taking care of the most vulnerable, the most marginalized, and the most oppressed. The Catholic Church has this really cool social doctrine, social justice doctrine called the preferential option for the poor. What this means is that everything we do must be seen through the lens of the poor first. But so many countries and especially the United States, are structured in such a way that the lens is seen through the most wealthy. Politicians, they are they're tied to the efforts of wanting to benefit the richest, because that's who donates to them. So is it any surprise that the policies that come out of Washington and out of our state capitals benefit the wealthiest first? That is a top-down structure. When we look at the top to see who is in charge, and let's benefit them before the rest. I don't think that's how the kingdom of God works. If I've learned anything from studying church history and the scriptures, it is that the kingdom of God is upside down, in that we must begin with the bottom. That's the case in our churches. That should be the case in our politics, in our economics. We should have a preferential option for the poor, meaning that we care for the most vulnerable and the most marginalized individuals before anyone else. For someone like me, who is a straight, white, Christian American male, I sit at the pinnacle of a lot of privilege. And so it's especially important for someone like me to realize that I have a lot of privilege. And that's other folks of different gender expressions and sexual orientations and racial or ethnic backgrounds, or from different countries who are not as well off as the United States. Our efforts should be, and everything we do should be seen through their lens first, and not one like my own. It's important to realize that as Christians, it's our job, it's our responsibility to partner with and uplift the oppressed. It's not about us necessarily. It's about everyone. And until everyone benefits and everyone can live a life with dignity and respect, then none of us can really be satisfied. We have to work together so that everyone lives the life that they deserve. When you have billionaires making this much money, while so many people are stuck outside in this wintry cold, something's wrong, you know? So let's figure out a way to make that better. I don't know how we do it, but I think together we can be creative enough to figure it out. That's all I got. It was good to be with you tonight. I look forward to seeing you sometime. All right, you are loved, you are important, and you matter. So go in grace and in peace, my friends.